You're the meaning in my life. You're the inspiration. You bring feeling to my life. You're the inspiration. I wanna have you near me. I wanna have you hear me say it. No one needs you more than I need you.
Hello, and welcome to the Heroic Review. This is our weekly episode review, and this week we're taking a look at Season 4, Episode 23, Inspiration Manifestation, written by Corey Powell and Megan McCarthy. I'm the moderator for this week, DeadlyReg, returning after a brief absence, and joining me this week is Goombasa.
Hello, everybody.
PDK.
I see you.
And Swedely.
I'm a little gassy.
Good work, everybody. So, what was the general opinion from everybody on this episode? Starting with you, Goombasa?
It was good for a Spike episode, only Spike's second outing in this season, and while I do feel it has some of the same problems that a lot of past Spike episodes have had, it was a very funny episode, I thought, and of course, it was heavy on Rarity, which always makes up for any flaws an episode has, in my opinion.
I really enjoyed it, yes. I don't think it had a huge amount of flaws. I know some people like to really twist about certain Spike things. I thought there was a load of very, very funny jokes in this. Can't think of much to fault it.
I also liked it, but this was also an episode where I actually didn't like Spike all too much. I mean, I usually like episodes he's in despite what people say, but this was one of the first episodes where I just couldn't stop shaking my head and yelling at my screen for Spike to get on the ball and all that. But I'll agree it did have some funny moments and pretty interesting way of coming about a moral.
I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. It was sort of middle tier episode. It wasn't as good as the great episodes we've had this season, but it was a lot better than some of the bad episodes. It was no daring don't, so we at least have that. Let's go first to our regular weekly spot of Derpy Watch. Swedely, you finally come back. Any sign of Derpy?
I did not see any of her, and I was looking hard because there was a fair, there were Pegasi walking all around, but I didn't see any sign of her. I'm sure someone is gonna flame me about this, but no sign.
No, don't worry, Swedely. I know if she was there, you would have caught her.
I think we probably swapped Derpy for Octavia this week. You can only have one prominent fan background character at a time.
They had Octavia and Vinyl in this episode.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So, free for all. Anyone want to start?
A positive out Spike before we start talking about his character this episode. I was very happy to see that he, for once this season, was not a butt monkey.
Yeah, this was one of the episodes where Spike was written semi-consistently. He wasn't portrayed as an out-and-out idiot, but he wasn't portrayed as the snarky character. It benefited from being from his point of view, so the episode had to spend more time looking into his rationale for his actions. So as a result of that, I think we got a more rounded Spike. We got both of those aspects of the character there in one go, which is basically what character we've been arguing for all the time. We want to see a more rounded individual rather than the one-note caricature we seem to be getting a lot.
I agree. It seemed like a more believable Spike this time around. He's just love-struck with Rarity, and he just keeps on going along, seeing the world through rose-tinted glasses and just overlooking everything she does, when we have Aloysius just being that little conscious, sort of like Jiminy Cricket. It just seemed a lot more believable as far as candy-colored ponies and dragons go.
Seeing Spike and Aloysius together in this episode was also something that I enjoyed as well. I know a lot of people don't really like Owl's Well That Ends Well, which was the episode that introduced Aloysius, but here I really like seeing the dynamic between them continued. The two of them actually have a lot of really good interactions when they're put in an episode together. One of the ones that comes to mind is Just for Sidekicks, the opening scene where they're talking to one another. I always find it very funny when the two of them are put together in situations like this.
Oh, I find that annoying. Just Spike hasn't gotten it through his head yet that owls say who and they're not asking who.
He will never learn that lesson. Ever.
No, because we need to put in as many Abbott and Costello routines as we can.
Look, Aloysius has one joke, okay? There is one joke with Aloysius, and they're going to keep selling us it until the cartoon ends. So I'm afraid we'll all just have to get used to it.
But, Chris, the cartoon's never going to end. They confirmed 15 more seasons.
And I will believe that until someone proves it wrong. I thought that Spike here was written fairly well in terms of the fact that he wasn't written stupid. We have seen characters get thrown the idiot ball in episodes past where they've had to act out of character or they've had to exaggerate a character aspect. Somebody to watch over me, we've criticised that. But in this episode, he was acting rather foolishly, but it was more or less a result of his feelings towards Rarity, which have been established for a long time, and the fact that he doesn't make very good choices. The character never makes very good choices. He bought a magical comic book that transported them into a fictional realm where they all nearly died. I think that counts pretty much as a bad choice. But he's never portrayed as someone who does it willfully or ignorantly. It's always because he doesn't make that further step of thought, and that's because he's young and tiny.
In those episodes where he just sort of goes bumbling around, like in Spike at Your Service, I know I sort of defend that episode more so than most people, even though that's his bumbliest episode, but in here, Spike just really got on my nerves about that. Like, he takes a book and he's just walking down the staircase that's crumbling behind him. He doesn't at all notice, like, he doesn't hear, see things in his peripheral vision. He doesn't notice, oh, hey, suddenly he's dropping further than he probably would have. It just makes me think, how do you not notice that? I was waiting for, like, some sort of Aladdin taking the magic lamp sort of scene or something. And then just him going along with it. I know I just said, and you just said that it was because he was love struck, but Spike. I just couldn't stop shaking my head at this.
We still have to accept that he's a kid as well, though.
The collapsing staircase, the platform that disappears into the darkness and the slamming shut is all essentially visual foreshadowing. We all know as the audience it's going to go badly. The show has just shown us through visual metaphor that it's all going to go really badly. And it's also confirmed that Spike will not know it's going badly until it's too late because he's not paying attention to the negative. He's not looking out for it. All he's got is this spell that he's wrapped up in, giving to Rarity in order to make everything better. And he's clearly not thought about how it could be negative in any way, or how this cursed book that he's just found in a hidden passage could possibly be something sinister. And it's all just there to convey to the audience quite firmly that this is all going to go wrong, and it's all because Spike's not paying attention.
Is anybody else getting tired of them just finding this stuff in hidden passages, by the way?
A little bit.
We've had the Legend of the Mirror Pool book, which was hidden in the library of all places. We had the Journal of the Two Sisters, and then we had this book, which had the inspiration manifestation spell in it, which apparently was hidden behind a hidden passage that had the exact same sort of mechanism attached to it that revealed the room with the Journal of the Two Sisters. It's becoming a very annoying way for them to find the things that they need.
Generally, if I was in charge of anything in Equestria, I would be locking up everybody who dared to write a book.
It's true, all the books that we've ever seen have been nothing but trouble.
Why don't we just burn the books?
No, that's
can't
bad.
burn a book.
It's simple. We kill literature.
No, the issue with the book thing is primarily, I feel, because Spike is closely linked to Twilight, and they don't want Spike to be ranging far from Twilight in order to find this stuff. Really, the only actors that are going to stumble across this thing for the major effect is going to be Twilight and Spike, because they're technically our fish out of water. When we had the mirror pool, Pinkie Pie's Grandma Pinkie told her it, so that was tacit knowledge that Pinkie had. Whereas with Twilight Sparkle, she's technically the main character, so she can't just have this knowledge. We need to see her acquiring it, and the easiest way to do that is through an area that has a lot of books, because that's her character's signature. So that's how we tend to see it happening. They pull a book and they find a secret thing and the book's there. And it's lazy. It is lazy, but in an absence of a quicker mechanism to introduce the audience to a concept that the plot is going to hinge around, I think it does okay, although the Mirror Pool book was unforgivable.
No, I agree, but when it comes to acquiring random knowledge, Twilight is picking up spell after spell, and we're just seeing them appear once on screen as ever.
Yeah, she can teleport people through glass. That's
I don't
really
see
useful.
that as teleportation. I think she was phasing.
She's got crystal exclusive motion.
Oh, I don't know. We might be going in too deep into superpowers now.
She's an alicorn. She has extra magical power greater than your average unicorn.
Okay, so Twilight Sparkle confirmed for deep mystical power that man may not know here on Heroic Review. We didn't see Princess Celestia. That was weird because there was clearly stuff going down and Ponyville was covered in junk and she didn't show up at the end or anything.
That's more the realm of extending Princess Twilight's reaches. She's an official princess. She's now someone who clears up messes and deals with problems, and the slight cleanup of the two princesses' castle seems to indicate that, yeah, this is going to be a thing now where Celestia will probably be season finale special, and she doesn't need to be around anymore.
I just think it's weird that we used to see so much of Princess Celestia, and now that Twilight's a princess, we see even less of Princess Celestia, when I would have thought the converse was going to be true. I think it's just odd.
We did get a mention of Luna and Cadance coming to help clean up Ponyville, which I find particularly interesting considering that Cadance was probably all the way in the Crystal Empire at the time.
Well, she is an expert on crystals.
Perhaps it's because it's daytime and Celestia needs to govern Equestria during the day. I mean...
Okay, confirmed. That's the reason why Celestia's not there. She's...
No, you're going against your own confirmations now. You have previously confirmed that Luna needs to sleep all the time during the day and only be mystical and ethereal at night in people's dreams, and Celestia does all her ethereal mysticality during the day and sleeps at night.
Do they even need to sleep? I mean...
Probably not, but this is what we're going with.
I bet she's got a bed. Does she use it? Maybe not. Maybe she just stays awake, being mysterious and broody. Who knows?
Anyway, we are going into the realms of now inventing our own headcanon. Let's not.
Okay, so the spell showed up in its awful book made of stone, covered in spikes.
The Pony Necronomicon.
Pony Necronomicon. It did actually look a bit like the Necronomicon as portrayed in the Evil Dead films, which have the big snappy maw on the front of it. That was the slight vibe I got from this book. Anyone else?
Definitely, yeah.
I didn't make the immediate connection, but now that you mention it, yes, it is there.
So he finds the Pony Necronomicon and he gives it to Rarity, and Rarity, who's eaten like 8 tubs of ice cream while crying, which is probably going to be my favourite scene of this entire season, just because it combines food and Rarity crying, two of my favourite things.
Yum.
I loved her sad noms. They were breathtaking.
Weren't those the same noms that, what's-her-name, Pumpkin Cake made when she was chewing on stuff?
Yes, Tabitha did the voice for Pumpkin, I believe.
She just can't get away from the overacting noms.
That's why they hire her, to eat food dramatically. No one wants to see people eat food normally on television. It's boring. We could do that at home. We want to see that horse really freak out and cry. So Rarity gets the spell. She is given incredible magic power to transmute materials with a whim. And she's like, this is a great idea. I can undo the damage I did by being too ostentatious with the carriage previously. So she makes an actually good carriage. And then the puppet guy has the best line of the episode, and I can't remember. It's something about having enough room for his puppets.
I think he just said, I have plenty of room for my puppets, but he said it with a really weird inflection.
Plenty of room for my puppets.
Plenty of room for the puppets! Yeah, it was something like that. It was brilliant. So that was the best line in the show. They can pretty much just stop making Pony now.
That puppet character was actually pretty interesting. Like, how he wielded his puppets almost like they were actually people. It was just really fascinating, and I wish he wasn't a background character and we could go a little more in depth with him. And he had an interesting physical design.
Yeah, he was basically squashed. He was a big squashed pony with a hat on and an unusual... He was a nice character. We will never see him again, but he was a nice character. Also, something that's just been reminded to talking about background characters, we saw Rarity's parents, and Rarity's dad is unfortunately a unicorn, where a lot of people were really hoping he would be an Earth pony.
Why did people hope that?
Because the whole design behind Rarity's mother and father for Sisterhood Social was to have them show up and be as embarrassing as possible for her. The idea that Rarity had an Earth Pony dad and this uncultured mother from the 1950s seemed to delight a lot of people, but unfortunately we are confirmed for Unicorn.
But just because they're both unicorns doesn't mean they can't be any more or any less embarrassing. That's weird.
I know, but they thought it would be funny, whatever. Rarity could create something out of nothing. She could literally create gold out of thin air, and she teleported a Canterlot music band in exchange for a mariachi band.
Why does the mariachi band keep popping up? Who was obsessed with mariachi bands at
There must
DeadlyReg?
be a Mexican.
The mariachi band, they have the puppets, they're going to keep using them. That's the situation with
That's
them.
a boring answer.
I know, but we got to see Octavia again. Everyone loves Octavia.
Meh.
This is the first time that she's shown up since the season 1 finale, isn't it?
No, actually, she showed up. I did a video on this. She showed up in the Canterlot Garden Party in season 2, on Twilight's birthday.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet and elite. So Rarity had incredible magic powers, and I think it says something about the magical land of Equestria that she turned all their roads into gold, and everyone was just uncomfortable with the reflectiveness of it rather than freaking out about its material worth. So that's something. That illustrates something about the place.
No, you just saw, the first initial reaction, which everyone was like, oh my god, it's so bright. You didn't see, the cute Mark Crusaders around the back of the school trying to dig up the road.
Well, you gotta remember, this is a world where perfectly cut gemstones can be found in the ground at any time and are used as a basic form of currency.
It's true.
I'm fairly certain that gold doesn't really have as much intrinsic value as it does in our world.
Equestria is a very strange place.
I just realized that Rarity was more magically powerful than Twilight during this episode.
Only in a specific field.
I know, but she could create things out of thin air. Imagine how much destructive capability that could have had.
It's only what she could imagine. Unfortunately for us, Rarity can only imagine the most gorgeous and glamorous.
It would have
of
made the
things.
most beautiful explosion if she made a glamour bomb.
Yeah, I was going to note that we have it confirmed pretty much that any sort of slightly off-coloured magic is evil.
Yep, green is confirmed for evil magic colour.
They even refer to it in the very last scene. Twilight refers to it as dark magic, which is the first time they've done that in the show. Up until that point, it has been the fans calling it dark magic most of the time.
Okay, confirmed for dark magic here in Inspiration Manifestation. This was a Megan McCarthy script, so it was very much intentional because she is the showrunner, so she would drop that kind of thing in. No, so it was intentional. And we have got it established in the universe that dark magic, quote unquote, isn't necessarily destructive in and of itself. It's simply corruptive, which is, Twilight Sparkle and Princess Celestia were both firing off dark magic here, there, and everywhere. So you don't need to be evil to do it, but it can make you evil if you like it too much. That is the rule of dark magic in Equestria, and I, for one, support this.
I'm kind of curious now about the nature of the spell that took over Rarity. Was it its own entity? Was it somehow influencing her? Was it just taking her love of making fabulous things and cranking it up to 11 while simultaneously trying to block out her generous impulses to actually help other people with what she creates?
Well, she was helping people. It just made her lose a sense of perspective somewhat. I prefer not to think about the spell as an entity or having an agenda, because it robs somewhat the conclusion, I think it's weight, which is that Rarity just lost perspective. And as soon as she got perspective back, she lost the power because she gave it up. If we introduce an outside force that's directing anyone's actions, it kind of removes the agency that Rarity had.
No, you have a point.
I'd prefer to think of it as Rarity just got way into the fact that she could make a million dresses with her brain instantaneously. That's the kind of power that makes you lose sight of things. It's just the spell, say, makes you lose sight of what you're actually trying to do. But conversely, as soon as it's pointed out to you that you're doing wrong, the spell leaves you. So I think it was just that she made bad choices. Like Spike, she didn't think things through. Inspiration Manifestation is the episode where people don't think things through.
This was a reversal, as some people have already pointed out, of Secret of My Access. Yeah, where Spike goes on a rampage and Rarity is the cause and the solution to that. It's a nice flip to that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As Rarities had reined in Spike through his remembering about a sense of perspective, so too did Spike rein in Rarity by telling her that flying around and turning everything into solid gold was a bad plan. We could say that he was stupid for not telling everybody that Rarity had gone plumb crazy and was possessed almost by this spell, but he did make a promise, and Spike is a child and totes in love with Rarity, so it makes perfect sense that he would pick path of most resistance in order to solve this problem.
Series finale, Spike and Rarity go on a real boyfriend-girlfriend date.
Never. They can't. She's a horse, he's a child. It could never be.
Sorry, shippers.
Age is only a number, and are you racist?
Age is not a number. So we have to remember that the official ship of the Heroic Review is Silver Spoon Twist.
When did we do that?
It was decided a couple of days ago, I believe. So we back the most unlikely and least meaningful ship, confirmed on Heroic Review, for the two horses nobody cares about, caring for each other.
I care about Silver Spoon.
What did we think of the way that the other main six were utilized in this episode? Because they were used very sparingly in this episode.
Twilight was used spot on. She showed up, was trying to fix everything and was freaking out a bit, and then showed up at the end a total neurotic wreck. So yeah, fine.
And then Spike made a joke out of it.
To her face. To the face of the only pony who's ever truly shown him meaningful kindness and love. What a dickhead.
I love the expression on Twilight's face when he says it too. You can tell that she is not in the mood for this bullshit at all.
Surprised she didn't knife him. Just pull out a switchblade. I think what they did with the main six was to create something that looked really nice but was totally useless and got in the way and was in fact really awful, which was great. It totally set the scene for the episode. So I think they were used just enough. All right, anyone want to say anything else, or shall I wrap it up?
Animation was good.
Animation was good. Well done, DHX. Your animation was good. It's what they pay you for. All right, thanks everybody. You have been listening to the Heroic Review. Joining me this time was Goombasa.
See you later, everybody.
PDK.
Annyeong.
Swedely.
This episode's been brought to you by Drugs and Fascism.
I was your moderator, DeadlyReg. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Heroic Review.